Maya Collins stared at the glowing screen of her laptop, the numbers blurring as her eyes burned from holding back tears she refused to let fall in the office. The hum of printers, the clatter of keyboards, and the casual laughter drifting from the glass-walled break room felt louder today, mocking, almost intentional. Her phone vibrated beside her coffee mug, and she didn't need to look to know who it was from. She already recognized the timing, the cruelty disguised as coincidence. Ryan Blake's voice carried across the office before she even opened the message. Honestly, he laughed loudly to a group of co-workers, I thought she'd fall apart without me. Turns out I was right. The laughter that followed cut deeper than any insult ever could. 6 months had passed since their breakup, but Ryan hadn't moved on, at least not from humiliating her. Every week there was a new joke, a new whisper, a new casual remark meant to remind everyone that Maya Collins had been too emotional, too needy, and not leadership material. The cruel irony? Ryan had just been promoted to senior brand strategist. Maya, the woman who trained him, corrected his mistakes, and salvaged his failed campaigns, had been passed over, again. Sterling and Rowe Marketing had once been her dream company. She believed in hard work, integrity, and letting results speak louder than confidence. What she hadn't believed in was how easily a charming man with connections could rewrite history, and destroy someone else's reputation in the process. Maya, came a voice dripping with false sweetness. She looked up to see Vanessa Reed leaning against her cubicle wall, perfectly styled hair and a smile that never reached her eyes. Vanessa thrived on office drama the way plants thrived on sunlight. I heard about the annual charity gala next weekend, Vanessa said. Ryan's bringing his new girlfriend. She's gorgeous. Model type. Maya forced a tight smile. That's nice. Vanessa tilted her head. Are you going alone this year? I mean, last time you went with Ryan. It would be awkward, wouldn't it? Awkward. That was the word they used when they meant humiliating. The Sterling Gala wasn't just a party. It was a stage. Executives, investors, board members, and industry leaders attended. Appearances mattered. Relationships mattered. And going alone, especially after a very public breakup, was an unspoken declaration of failure. I'll be fine, Maya said quietly. Vanessa's eyes flickered with satisfaction. Of course you will. You always are. When Vanessa walked away, Maya finally exhaled, her shoulders sagging. She stared at her reflection in the darkened screen, smart, capable, exhausted. She had survived college on scholarships, worked 2 jobs to support her younger brother, and built a career from nothing. But somehow this felt harder than all of that. That night, in her small apartment, Maya sat cross-legged on her couch, laptop open, the city lights flickering through her window like distant stars. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard, heart pounding with equal parts shame and desperation. She typed words she never thought she would. Professional companion for events. The websites blurred together, profiles that looked fake, men who tried too hard, prices that felt either insulting or suspicious. She was seconds away from closing the tab when one profile stopped her cold. Ethan Blackwood. The photo showed a man in his early 30s, tall, composed, dark hair neatly styled. He wasn't smiling widely like the others. His expression was calm, confident, almost unreadable. He wore a simple charcoal suit, tailored perfectly, and his eyes held something steady, something grounded. The description was short. Discreet companion for formal and professional events. Experienced in corporate environments. Respectful, polished, adaptable. No flashy promises. No desperation. The rate was higher than the rest. Maya swallowed. She could afford it, but barely. Still, something about him felt different. She typed her message carefully. Hello. I'm looking for a professional escort for a corporate charity gala next Saturday evening. The event is formal and public. Please let me know if you're available. She expected a delayed response. Instead, her phone buzzed within 15 minutes. Hello, Maya. I'm available. Before confirming, I prefer to meet briefly to understand expectations and ensure comfort on both sides. Would tomorrow evening work? She blinked. Most profiles demanded payment up front. This man wanted a conversation. The cafe he suggested was quiet and elegant, the kind of place executives used for meetings rather than dates. Maya arrived early, nerves buzzing beneath her calm exterior. She checked her watch twice before the door opened. And then he walked in. Ethan Blackwood was even more striking in person, not in a flashy way but in the way he carried himself. Confident without arrogance. Calm without detachment. He wore a navy blazer and crisp white shirt, no tie, no excess. His presence shifted the room subtly, like gravity adjusting. "Maya?" he asked. She stood, shaking his hand, surprised by the warmth and steadiness of his grip. They sat and she explained everything: the gala, Ryan, the rumors, the humiliation. She didn't intend to say so much, but Ethan listened without interruption, without judgment. His eyes stayed on her, attentive, thoughtful. "I don't need anything inappropriate," she said quickly. "Just believable. Respectful." Ethan nodded. "Understood. And your goal?" She hesitated. "I want him to stop looking at me like I'm broken." Something shifted in Ethan's expression. Not pity, not sympathy, but recognition. "That's reasonable," he said quietly. They discussed details. Backstory. Boundaries. When she mentioned Sterling and Rowe, he asked insightful questions. Too insightful. He knew the company's recent rebranding struggles, its major accounts, even the CEO's leadership style. "You seem very familiar with corporate strategy," Maya said carefully. Ethan smiled faintly. "I've spent time around it." When the check arrived, he paid without hesitation using a sleek black card she recognized instantly. The kind most people only saw in movies. Her suspicion deepened. "Can I ask you something?" she said as they stood. "Of course." "Why do you do this?" He paused just briefly. "Because sometimes people need help being seen for who they really are." That night, lying in bed, Maya stared at the ceiling, her heart racing. She told herself this was just a transaction, a solution to a problem. But deep down, she knew she had invited something unexpected into her life. And she had no idea how deeply it would change everything. The night she needed a fake date, and the man who walked in changed everything. Saturday evening arrived faster than Maya expected. The hours leading up to it felt unreal, like she was moving through water. Slow, heavy, uncertain. She stood in front of her bedroom mirror, smoothing the deep emerald dress she had chosen after 3 changes. It was elegant without trying too hard, confident but understated. She wanted to look composed, not desperate. Strong, not wounded. Her phone buzzed. "I'm outside," Ethan's message read. Her heart skipped. When she opened the door, she froze. Ethan stood in the hallway in a black tuxedo that looked custom-made for his frame. The crisp lines, the effortless way he wore it, the calm authority in his posture. It was impossible not to stare. He looked like he belonged on red carpets and executive boards, not escort websites. "You look incredible," he said, handing her a single white rose. Maya swallowed. "So do you." As they walked toward the waiting car, a sleek black sedan with a professional driver, she hesitated. "You didn't say anything about a driver." Ethan smiled lightly. "Efficiency." The ride to the Sterling Charity Gala was quiet but comfortable. Ethan asked about her childhood, her goals, the things she loved before work consumed her life. He listened in a way few people ever had, absorbing her words instead of waiting to speak. By the time they arrived at the Grand Hotel ballroom, Maya realized something unsettling. She wasn't pretending anymore. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and polished marble floors. Laughter, clinking glasses, and soft music filled the air. Heads turned as Maya and Ethan entered, not because of her alone, but because of him. There was something about Ethan that commanded attention without demanding it. "That's him," Maya whispered, spotting Ryan near the bar. Ryan was already watching her. His smug expression faltered for just a second when he saw Ethan's hand resting gently at the small of her back. "Maya," Ryan called, approaching with a forced grin. "Wow, you clean up nicely." Ethan didn't let go of her hand. "And you are?" Ryan asked, eyes narrowing. "Ethan," he replied calmly. "Maya's partner." Ryan laughed dismissively. "Partner? That's cute. What do you do, Ethan?" "I invest," Ethan said simply. Ryan scoffed. "Of course you do." Maya felt the familiar heat of humiliation rising, but before she could speak, Ethan leaned closer to Ryan, his voice low but firm. "You're being rude," he said. "I'd suggest stopping." The confidence in his tone startled Ryan. As they moved deeper into the room, co-workers gathered around, curious, whispering. Ethan handled every interaction flawlessly. He knew when to speak, when to listen, how to charm without boasting. Executives nodded at him with interest. Investors lingered a little longer than necessary. Then the crisis began. A senior executive rushed across the ballroom, panic etched into his face. Whispers spread quickly. A major client just threatened to pull out. The board is furious. Maya watched the leadership team huddle near the stage, voices tense, hands gesturing sharply. Ethan's expression shifted, not to concern but focus. "Who is it?" he asked. Morrison Holdings, Maya said. If we lose them, the company's in serious trouble. Ethan paused for half a second. Then he walked toward the executives. Maya hesitated, but followed. I don't mean to interrupt, Ethan said calmly, addressing the CEO directly, but I might be able to help. The room went silent. Ryan laughed from behind them. This should be good. The CEO looked skeptical. And you are? Ethan Blackwood, he replied. And Morrison Holdings is bluffing. That name landed differently. Ethan continued, outlining contract clauses, market shifts and leverage points with precise clarity. His words weren't guesses, they were calculated. Executives exchanged stunned looks. You're saying we can counter their demand? The CEO asked. Yes, Ethan said. And win. Within minutes, the panic dissolved into strategy. Ryan stood frozen. Maya's breath caught as she watched Ethan take control of the room like it was second nature. When the meeting ended, the CEO shook Ethan's hand firmly. We need to talk soon. Ryan said nothing. As they stepped back into the crowd, Maya turned to Ethan, her heart racing. Who are you? She whispered. Ethan met her gaze, something unreadable in his eyes. Someone who hates bullies, he said softly. The moment everyone realized they had judged the wrong man. The shift in the room was impossible to ignore. Moments earlier, Ethan had been nothing more than Maya's mysterious plus one. Interesting, attractive, but ultimately irrelevant in the eyes of people who measured worth by titles and job badges. Now, as executives whispered and senior managers straightened their posture around him, the air itself felt different. Maya stood slightly behind Ethan, her heart pounding so loudly she was certain someone else could hear it. She had walked into this gala expecting humiliation. Instead, she was watching the man she had hired quietly command the attention of the most powerful people in the room. Ryan recovered first. He always did. So, Ryan said loudly, stepping closer, forcing a laugh that echoed just a bit too sharply. Looks like we have ourselves a hero tonight. Guess anyone can read a contract summary online these days. A few people chuckled politely. Ethan turned slowly, his expression calm, but his eyes had changed. There was no anger in them. No need to prove anything. Just certainty. That wasn't a summary, Ethan said evenly. It was an analysis. Ryan smirked. Sure it was. The CEO Jonathan Sterling frowned. Ryan, that's enough. Ryan stiffened. I didn't mean. I know exactly what you meant, Sterling replied coolly. Maya felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Relief. Validation. Justice, finally leaning in her direction. As the evening continued, people gravitated toward Ethan. Questions turned from casual curiosity to genuine interest. Conversations deepened. Maya watched as senior partners listened intently while Ethan spoke, not dominating discussions but guiding them, steering them with precision. At one point, a board member leaned over to Maya and whispered, "Your partner is extraordinary." Maya smiled faintly. "He is." The words felt less like a lie now. Ryan, meanwhile, hovered at the edges of the room, his confidence cracking. He watched Ethan with a mix of envy and disbelief, his jaw clenched tight. Later, as Maya stepped away to freshen up, she overheard him cornering Ethan near the balcony. "You think you're impressive," Ryan said, his voice low and sharp. "But I know your type. Pretending to be something you're not." Ethan didn't flinch. "And what type is that?" "A fraud," Ryan snapped. "Maya always falls for appearances." Ethan stepped closer, not threatening, just present. "Be careful," he said quietly. "You've built your success on tearing others down. That foundation doesn't last." Ryan scoffed. "You don't know anything about me." Ethan's gaze held his. "I know enough." The words unsettled Ryan more than any insult ever could. As the gala drew toward its final hour, Jonathan Sterling approached Maya and Ethan together. "Ethan," he said carefully, "I hope you'll consider meeting with us next week. Your insights tonight, they saved us." Ethan nodded. "I'll think about it." "Think about it?" Maya almost laughed at the understatement. On the ride home, silence filled the car, not awkward but heavy with unspoken truth. "Ethan," Maya finally said, turning to him, "I need you to be honest with me." He met her gaze, his reflection steady in the window's glass. "I will be," he said. "Are you really an escort?" Pause. "Not exactly." Her breath caught. "Then why?" "Because I wanted to," he said simply. "And because you deserved someone in your corner." Maya stared at him, emotions colliding inside her, confusion, gratitude, fear, hope. She didn't push further. Not yet. Because deep down she knew the truth was coming. And when it did, nothing in her life would stay the same. The truth he hid, and the karma that followed immediately. Monday morning arrived with a tension Maya could feel in her bones. Sterling and Rowe buzzed with rumors. Emails circulated about emergency board meetings. Executives moved through the halls with urgency, their conversations clipped and cautious. Something big was happening, something far beyond the usual corporate stress. Maya sat at her desk, replaying the weekend in her mind. Ethan's words echoed over and over. Not exactly. She hadn't heard from him since the gala. No texts. No explanations. And somehow that silence felt heavier than any lie. At 10:17 a.m., the office-wide meeting request hit everyone's inbox. Mandatory all-staff assembly, main conference hall. Whispers erupted instantly. Ryan passed Maya's desk, smirking. Looks like your mystery man stirred the pot. Let's see how long his little act lasts. Maya didn't respond. When the conference hall filled, Jonathan Sterling stood at the podium, flanked by unfamiliar executives in tailored suits. The atmosphere was electric, anticipation mixed with anxiety. Thank you all for coming on short notice, Sterling began. This weekend revealed opportunities and truths. The doors at the back of the room opened. Maya's breath stopped. Ethan walked in, but not as she'd ever seen him before. No casual blazer. No understated elegance. This time he wore a bespoke charcoal suit, immaculate, commanding. The room instinctively fell silent. He wasn't just confident now, he was authoritative. Every step carried weight. Ryan's face drained of color. Jonathan Sterling turned toward Ethan with a respectful nod. Allow me to introduce Ethan Blackwood, founder and CEO of Blackwood Capital. The name hit the room like thunder. Blackwood Capital. The private investment firm that had quietly acquired controlling interests in multiple Fortune 500 companies. The firm that analysts speculated was run by a shadow executive who avoided publicity. Maya felt the world tilt. Ethan stepped forward. Good morning. No one spoke. I attended the gala as Maya's guest, Ethan continued calmly. Not as a consultant. Not as an escort. But as someone observing the culture of a company I was considering investing in. Gasps rippled through the room. Ryan stumbled backward slightly. Over the last 48 hours, Ethan said, I reviewed internal performance data, promotion records, and complaint logs. His gaze shifted, locking directly onto Ryan. What I found was a pattern. Ryan laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. Sit down, Ethan said softly. Ryan froze. Ethan turned back to the room. Sterling and Rowe promotes innovation, integrity, and collaboration on paper. In practice, certain individuals advanced by undermining others. He clicked a remote. Screens behind him lit up. Emails. Chat logs. Performance comparisons. Maya's name appeared, paired against Ryan's. She had higher client retention. Better campaign results. Stronger peer reviews. Yet she'd been passed over. Jonathan Sterling's jaw tightened. Ryan Blake, Ethan continued, built his reputation by discrediting Maya Collins. False narratives. Strategic humiliation. Ryan shook his head. That's not. Your access has been suspended, Sterling interrupted sharply. Security will escort you out. The room held its breath as Ryan was led away, silent now, stripped of the confidence he once weaponized. Maya's knees nearly gave out. Ethan turned toward her. Maya Collins, he said, his voice warm but steady. You were underestimated. You were disrespected. And you were wronged. The room watched. I've recommended you for immediate promotion to senior strategy lead, Sterling said quickly. Effective today. Tears blurred Maya's vision. Ethan stepped closer. You didn't need saving, he said softly. You needed truth. Their eyes met, and for the first time there was no disguise between them. She thought she needed a fake date, but found the truth that changed her life. The office felt different after that day. Not quieter, just clearer. People looked at Maya differently now. Not with pity. Not with curiosity. But with respect. Conversations paused when she walked by, not to whisper, but to listen. Her ideas carried weight. Her presence mattered. Ryan Blake's name vanished from emails, from meetings, from memory, like someone who had never belonged there in the first place. Maya sat in her new office a week later, sunlight spilling through the wide windows, the promotion letter resting neatly on her desk. Senior Strategy Lead. The title felt unreal. Not because she hadn't earned it, but because she had once been made to believe she hadn't. A knock came at the door. Ethan stood there. Not as an executive. Not as a mystery. Just Ethan. Do you have time? He asked. For you? Maya smiled. Always. They walked together outside, the city alive around them. For the first time since the gala, there was no audience. No performance. Just honesty waiting to be spoken. I owe you an explanation, Ethan said quietly. You owe me the truth, Maya replied. But only if you want to give it. He exhaled slowly. I grew up watching people confuse confidence with worth. I built Blackwood Capital to invest in businesses, but also in people. I wanted to see who they truly were when they thought no one important was watching. And me? Maya asked softly. You were already important, Ethan said. You just didn't know it yet. She stopped walking. Why help me? She asked. You could have stayed silent. Because I've been underestimated too, he replied. And because kindness should never go unrewarded. Maya laughed gently through tears. You know, I hired you to protect me from embarrassment. And instead, Ethan smiled, you reminded me why integrity matters. They stood there, the city humming, the past finally loosening its grip. Was any of it fake? Maya asked. Us. Ethan met her gaze. Only the beginning. Months later, Sterling and Rowe announced a partnership with Blackwood Capital. One built on transparency, fairness, and real talent. Maya led the strategy. Ethan stayed mostly behind the scenes. But when they attended the next gala together, hand in hand, there was no pretending. Only truth. Only respect. Only the quiet power of knowing who you are, and refusing to let anyone tell you otherwise.